What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Russia stands on a very shaky ground at the close of 2024. Dmitry Medvedev, former president and current leader of the United Russia Party, hinted at welcoming new territories into Russia, as though the nation had the capacity to govern additional lands. And I'm not talking about Kherson, Zaporozhye, Luhansk or Donetsk, no. Dmitry Medvedev was obviously referring to lands beyond these territories, perhaps even a part of Poland, as unambiguously suggested on his personal Telegram channel. Meanwhile, domestic issues ranging from ethnic pogroms to failing healthcare sectors have continued to mount. The only logical question here is the following. Why would Putin's administration even think about new territories, when it cannot keep order and peace on its existing land? Russia is the biggest country in the world, so holding everything together is a massive challenge on its own. Attaching forcefully occupied territories populated with people who hate you and will never accept your rule is practically, physically, and theoretically impossible. In fact, this entire action will be counterproductive. Tensions will rise and problems will escalate. And honestly, Putin did not even need to make a move towards other Western countries to initiate this process. Public unrest have already erupted in multiple regions, forcing local authorities into aggressive information crackdowns and raising questions about the government's capacity to maintain stability. The attempts to silence dissent by targeting high-profile professionals and everyday citizens persist. But these temporary actions of fear will not solve the internal problems of Russia that appear one after another at a record pace. When Dmitry Medvedev unambiguously spoke of the possibility that so-called new proximate regions might join Russia, his comments ignited a wave of speculation. He even clipped that 15-second fragment of his speech and published it on his Telegram, trying to reinforce his statements and show everyone how serious he is. Despite his frequent rants, all of which inevitably slide into toxic spitting and irrelevant monologues, Medvedev remains an influential political figure with real authority, at least inside Russia. His position as deputy chairman of the Military Industrial Commission and Security Council, combined with his leadership of the party that dominates parliamentary seats, ensures that his words cannot be dismissed as idle talk. They do sound like what an alcoholic taxi driver would say after his shift is over, while simultaneously ingesting another glass of vodka. But that is the danger of him, Medvedev's unpredictability. And this time, the country that Medvedev laid his eyes upon once again was Poland. He even invited America to duel ballistic missiles versus air defense systems inside Kiev for some reason, but logically this invitation was ignored. Against this noise, one cannot help but ask whether the country truly needs to contemplate any further territorial ventures. Russia's existing regions face an array of challenges, from insufficient healthcare funding to rising crime and social unrest. The idea of embarking on new conquests while hospitals are closing and big parts of the population have lost faith in social services, these ideas feel alien. This disconnect is particularly obvious when taking into consideration the number of violent outbursts, also known as pogroms, which are unfolding across Russia right now. And yes, several recent unrests, from the North Caucasus to the Ural Mountains, have already proved that the government struggles to ensure the safety of citizens in territories already under its jurisdiction. That's the very basic government's responsibility that Putin's regime failed to provide. So yeah, when Medvedev talks about taking even more territories under control, with the army that barely holds together as it is, most people, including representatives of the Russian government, prefer not to pay attention to him at all. Just like a crazy person on a train, he might scream, yell and annoy other passengers, but you're forced to coexist with him until you either reach your destination or somebody takes this person out of public's eye. The year 2023 witnessed shocking anti-Jewish pogroms in Russia's Dagestan, Karachay-Cherkessia and Kabardino-Balkaria. These events culminated in an enraged crowd storming the airport in Makhachkala, the capital of Dagestan. You might remember it because of this picture when enraged mob person was looking for hiding Jews inside planes' turbines. Though it seemed like an isolated regional crisis, 2024 already proved it was far more. Later that year, a pogrom targeting gypsies erupted in the previously quiet town of Korkina in the Chelyabinsk region. Soon after, anti-Uzbek riots took place in Kyzyl, the capital of Tuva, where local authorities responded by effectively sealing off the city's internet and mobile services. If you've seen TV show Chernobyl, guys, you might recognize this favorite Soviet tactic. In an event of emergency, cut all the communications with the outside world to contain the spread of information. If it means the local residents will be endangered as well, because they will not know the full picture, well, so be it. The best analogy here is in the event of fire, the building's administration locks all the apartments and closes the stairs until the fire department arrives, so that people will not accidentally run into flames and burn themselves. So yeah, each of these incidents originated from a previous crime, an assault, beating, robbery, corruption and similar. All of these crimes led to ethnic tensions, because it was one group against the other. Critics argue that such violent disturbances occur in other countries, but the unique composition of Russia as a very multicultural state magnifies this particular significance. The federal government, which frequently praises the nation's diversity and harmony, is now confronted with evident cracks of their imposed ideas. These events have unfolded during a period of relentless pressure against what the authorities call extremism, a term so broadly defined that it can be applied to literally anyone that the regime deems unworthy. It sometimes even applies to doctors or artists, who should never face such charges, but it seemingly fails to curb mob violence at the same time. Whether rooted in social-economic despair or political manipulation, these pogroms highlighted a breakthrough of communal trust in regions that once prided themselves on peaceful coexistence. The official response has shifted back and forth between imposing blackouts on information and delivering assurances of law and order. Nevertheless, the anxieties unleashed by these pogroms have only deepened suspicion of the government's ability or willingness to protect its citizens. While the media was covering the Kyzyl riots, something else happened in Arkhangelsk. Local law enforcers arrested and branded a prominent neurosurgeon as an extremist. His name is Nikolai Serebrennikov, a guy who has performed groundbreaking surgeries and saved countless lives over 25 years of his professional career. This is a man recognized as the city's Doctor of the Year in 2016 and the best neurosurgeon in 2012. You would think that this must have been a colossal reason to arrest such a professional, right? Like maybe he has been secretly orchestrating pogroms or planning a territorial attack. But no, his so-called crime was donating a few hundred rubles, around $50 total, to Navalny's anti-corruption foundation 3 years ago. That's it. Financing extremist activities, they called it. While actual hate crimes and rioting break out in multiple Russian regions, the big arrests revolve around a guy who has dedicated his life to healing people. Think of how many future surgeries he will not be performing, how many patients will be left without hope, because the government decided to take him out of the operating room. And that's on top of the fact that Arkhangelsk region is about to lose an entire ambulance station in Lensky district. If that happens, people in urgent need will be waiting on an ambulance for, just guess how many miles away. From 100 plus miles away. More than half of this route is an off-road as well, so it will take hours before an ambulance can arrive to the scene. In real life, that's practically a death sentence. Is this the only place across entire Russia where this is happening? Absolutely not. It is just that these locals were vocal enough to bring their problem to media's attention. Public healthcare sector as a whole was already on shaky ground pre-war, but now it is on the brink of destruction. Wages for medical workers are being slashed, entire facilities are closing, and the government dismisses it as economic necessity. There is even a saying here in Russia that we need to tie our belts tighter and prepare for something even worse. Closing hospitals and hours drives for ambulances will feel like nothing when real troubles settle in. And guess where all this saved money goes? That's right, to support Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Not even in the pockets of oligarchs, something that you would normally think would happen 5-10 years ago. No. Now the situation with the Russian economy is so bad that Putin is even ready to compromise people's health just to continue fighting its neighboring country. Either way, the result is the same. Average people are left to take care of themselves, while the government invests in fighting extremists, like above-mentioned awarded and recognized neurosurgeon. Despite all the chaos, pogroms, arrests of top-notch doctors, a collapsed healthcare system, and a never-ending war, there is still a glimmer of hope. Russia isn't just some landmass with administrative borders. It is definitely not Putin. It is 145 million people. They are not disappearing anytime soon, no matter how many times somebody shouts Russia is doomed. Yes, the economy might collapse, the sanctions might destroy it, the whole world might turn away from Russia. But people will always be there. People that are not united by a common president, but people who share the same history, culture, traditions and mindsets. The bigger question is survival enough? Russia has so much potential that simply surviving feels like a tragic underachievement. Back in the early 2000s, for example, Russians had somewhat affordable mortgages, they were able to go abroad, and cars that, they did not cost as much as a small house. Not everyone benefited, of course, but back then the middle class was at least growing, not shrinking. Russians had small steps forward in areas like taxation and land reforms, before the government turned around and sabotaged itself at every opportunity. And what was the government doing during these times to help society grow? Absolutely nothing. That's right, the government was not intervening in people's daily lives as they do right now. And the people were able to build and achieve things on their own. That's the one and only thing that the people of Russia need in order to prosper once again. It is for government to stop trying to take everything under control, micromanage, and telling people how to do things better. You just don't know it yet, but it is actually going to be good for you in the future. That's literally the slogan of the Putin's regime. And if the people are still not happy, the regime will do everything possible to take the complainers out of the system, force happiness, and ensure that everyone is satisfied. Even now, with everything crumbling around, there are still ordinary Russians accomplishing incredible deeds. Doctors, teachers, engineers, programmers, volunteers, millions of them. They keep going, despite the oppressive climate, because that's what we do, that's what Russians do. Imagine what they could have achieved if the regime stopped dragging everyone down with pointless wars, censorship and arrests. We are not a world where a genuine upsurge of creativity and well-being could happen almost overnight if the state removed its foot from people's necks. Putin thinks he sits in the driver's seat and he has to press the brake pedal, so the car does not fall into a canyon. But he does not realize that a car is moving on the broad highway of possibilities. And we, Russians, we do not need such driver. Well, there have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, like for example Patreon, where I post these videos in early access, the link will be down below. Thanks so much for watching, see you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.